Hello everyone and welcome back to another Wizard101 video. Now, I am getting better, I will say that. I'm not as sick as I was yesterday, but I did sleep for a very long time today, and I only have about 2 hours to get this video out. So, I decided, you know what, instead of thinking of a creative and original video idea, let's just go for the bare minimum, bottom of the barrel, whatever. If this doesn't get as many views, who cares? Whatever. Today I'm going to be ranking all of the AOEs in this game. AOEs are the best spells in this game in my opinion, so I figured I would rank them using a tier list as always. So we're going to be doing that today and having a good time. So let's get right into it. Here you go. Boom. A tier list. Wow, it's been a while since we've had one of these on our channel. Let's get started. The tiers are best of the best, so just top tier. We have deck staples, so they're in the deck no matter what. Situational, only if there is nothing better. And Omega Lol, which is like, why would you ever put that in your deck? So, let's get into it. Starting with Avenging Fossil, which is going to be, funny enough, our first Omega Lol. Never once in my life as a Death Wizard have I used Avenging Fossil. It's just genuinely not a good spell. I don't like almost any of the tier 10 spells, the 10 pip spells, because they take way too many pips. But just generally, Avenging Fossil also isn't really that good as a whole. There's no reason why you would use it over something like Scarecrow or something like Call of Cthulhu. It's just overall, it's pretty bad. It also takes so long to get 10 pips that it's just not even a question in my mind. Avenging Fossil is definitely not worth it. Call of Cthulhu. Now this one, I would normally put into situational because of the Shadow Pip, but I'm going to put it as a deck staple because let's be honest, Cthulhu is badass. Like, it's a really cool spell. So I feel like, you know, everyone should have it in their deck. The only reason why I would put it lower than this is because compared to Scarecrow, is it really worth it? I don't know. It does only about 80 damage more, and Scarecrow doesn't require a Shadow Pip, which obviously Shadow Pips are extremely difficult to get sometimes. So realistically, I don't think you're going to be using this as much, but it definitely is still a staple of like a deck staple. Like, I still use it in all my death decks, despite the fact not liking it as much. Next, we have Earthquake, and Earthquake, I would say, is mainly I'm going to say it's situational. Maybe if a boss has a cheat like that has a ton of blades on it, you can use it, but otherwise, really, I don't think there's a point. It doesn't do that much damage, and there's no real point in using it. Compared to Orthrus, which is 1 pip more, it does almost half the damage. It's just really not worth it. So I'm going to put it in the situational just because purely the remove blades thing, you know, potentially that could be useful. Fire Dragon, this is probably going to have to be a best of the best, the first of them, because let's be honest, Fire Dragon is one of the best spells in this game. It does quite a bit of damage for a 7-pip AoE, plus the overtime, which is really useful. Fire Wizards are, you know, still going to be using it to this day. I still have it in all my decks. It's a really useful spell. I can't really get more than that. Next, we have Forest Lord, which is probably going to be a deck staple as well. There's nothing that particularly makes it stand out. It just does a base damage to all enemies, but it is a really good spell for Life Wizards. And nowadays, you don't have to sit here for a millennia for the spell to be finished. So that's good. Next, we have Blizzard, which is also going to be a deck staple. A lot of these are going to be a deck staple if I consider them to be something that's in all of my decks. Blizzard is a deck staple mainly because it's a 4-pip AoE. You're going to be using it all the time. I don't see any 4-pip AoE not being a deck staple because they're all extremely useful and are just really, really good. Next, we have Frost Giant. Frost Giant, for me, it's going to have to be a deck staple because as a Ice Wizard, you're going to put it in your deck all the time. But I would like to say this is probably the worst of the 7-pip AoEs. It doesn't do as much damage as any other 4-pip or 7-pip AoE. And also, the animation is kind of slow for the stunning. So, I'll put it in a deck staple just mainly because if you are an Ice Wizard, you're going to want to be using it, but otherwise, not really. Next, we have Glowbugs, and Glowbugs is good. I will say that. It definitely does a lot of damage, but the Shadow Pip can be a bit to wait for. I'll probably put it into deck staples with Cthulhu here, but realistically, I feel like it's not as good sometimes as some of the other storm spells just because you have to wait for that Shadow Pip, and waiting for a Shadow Pip can take a very long time. Okay, next we have this new balance, Iron Giant, is that what it is? But I don't think it's that good if you look at it. 55 plus 300 balance damage over 3 rounds. So realistically, it's just an overtime, which means it's probably more a PvP spell than a PvE spell. Really, I would say only if there's nothing better. It's not a good spell at all, but you know, maybe you could use it to get rid of shields or something. Personally, I don't see it as that good though. Next we have Deer Knight, which Deer Knight I'm gonna say is an only if there's nothing better. And the reason why I say only if there's nothing better, it is literally that. If you don't have Ship of Fools, then you'll use it. So only if there isn't that better option. Deer Knight is okay, but it doesn't do that much damage, to be completely honest. Its enchant isn't really that good because when you enchant in overtime, it splits the enchant between the first half and the second half, which means it only does 473 base damage, which is weaker than quite a lot of spells. Like, it's not that good. It's weaker than a base Scarecrow, like with no enchant. Honestly, yeah, I think Deer Knight just really is that only if there isn't that better option, which is ship. Next, we have Mystic Colossus. Oh, I'm just going to say Omega Lol for Mystic Colossus, because there's so many reasons why it's not good. First off, the 7-pip AoE of Orthrus, which you need to wait one more round for, has a higher base damage. It has a higher base damage by like 70, which is hilarious. Second, the spell animation, even with the spell animation update, is still so long. It's still like 30 seconds long. You're still not going to be wanting to use Mystic Colossus. Legitimately, passing, waiting an extra round for Orthrus is going to be faster than actually picking Mystic Colossus and waiting for the entire animation to be done. So I'm just going to put this into Omega Lol. Like, it's not worth using at all. All right, next we have Nested Fury. I had to look up the name of the spell because I completely forgot it. But I would say this is a more situational spell. It's definitely really good. I won't lie to you there. But there are, you know, caveats to using it. Like, for example, if the enemy's in Elemental School, Fire, Ice, or Storm, you're probably not going to want to be using it just for that chance that it lands on the same school. If the enemy is a balanced enemy, as a balance, you're going to be wanting to use this more than other spells. So I would definitely say it's a more situational spell. It is a really good spell, don't get me wrong, but it is highly situational. I normally probably wouldn't keep this in my deck, and I would definitely put it in if there was a balanced enemy. Next, we have Orthrus. And for Orthrus, I am just going to put it in the best of the best, just because I will say as a 7-pip AoE, it is really good. It has the highest damage out of any 7-pip AoE. That includes Stormlord. You can see Stormlord only does 690. Orthrus does 700. So it actually has a higher base damage than that. This spell, changing to 700 to each enemy, made a myth go from like a C tier school to a A or S tier school. I will say that. So, best of the best, I will say, is a fitting place for Orthrus. Next, we have Power Nova. And Power Nova is something I have mixed feelings on, mainly because for some reason they changed the spell animation so it doesn't hit all enemies at the same time anymore, which just really bothers me. It takes longer in the spell animation, and I don't really like it. I will say, though, it is a deck staple of balance to use it. You will want Power Nova in your deck if you're a balance, just to hit all enemies with that 7-pip AoE. It's pretty good, but really that. Raw, I'm sorry, but I'm gonna have to put this like into only if there's nothing better to use, because let's be honest, Raw isn't nearly as good as it used to. Raw used to be a really powerful spell, like really powerful, more powerful than Power Nova, and then they nerfed it heavily and then added that weakness to it. And in PvE, let's be honest, you are never going to use Power Nova. You know, I probably should have said this at the beginning of the video, but this is based on my opinion and on PvE. So if you're saying like, this isn't how it works in PvP, I don't care. I don't care about PvP. How many times do I have to say that I dislike PvP before people realize that I'm not going to talk about PvP? I don't know. I'm sure at least one person will say it in the comments, and that's that, whatever. Next, we have Rage Bull. Rage Bull for me is a situational spell, mainly because it's good, but I will say the problem is waiting for that Shadow Pip can be really bad, and it's so close to Fire Dragon and Pips. You're probably going to end up using Fire Dragon more than you're going to end up using Rage Bull. Certainly, I as a Fire do, like, I almost never use Rage Bull, and I use Fire Dragon all the time. So I will put that into situational. Next, we have Rain of Fire, and this one has to go straight into Omega Lol. Let's be honest, it's not a good spell. You could probably use Detonate and make it a little bit better, but realistically, it costs 9 pips. It's not that good. The overtime may be a lot, but you're probably not going to use it over like Fire Dragon. There's no reason why you would use it over Fire Dragon. so I'm going to put it there. Next, we have Rat Spin. I am going to put Rat Spin in best of the best, and there's a reason for this. One, because it gave Life a 4-pip AOE, which suddenly made Life a much, much better school, which is definitely really good. Two, Rat Spin can actually be upgraded, and it can become the most damaging 4-pip AOE in the entire game. So, I'm going to put it up there. It's already on par with damage with Meteor Strike, so I will say that it is definitely a really good 4-pip AOE spell, and it deserves to be up there. Next, we have Reindeer Knight. Now, I know a lot of people like Reindeer Knight. I've noticed this, right? A lot of people like Reindeer Knight. A lot of people say to me, like, Noah, but you say Blizzard's better than Reindeer Knight, but I like Reindeer Knight. Reindeer Knight does more damage. Okay, yes and no. You need to understand, I am someone who likes the battles to be done as fast as possible. And enchanting a Blizzard, the Blizzard's doing at base about 500 to 600 damage, to me, that is better than Reindeer Knight, which will do about 350 at base, probably closer to 400. 400 at base with an overtime of about 300. Sure, that's more damage statistically, but I will have to wait significantly longer for that damage because first off, you're going to have to pass an extra round for that power, for that pip. Obviously, this changes with pip decks. You can use Reindeer Knight then if you want, I guess, but early game, you're not going to be wanting to use this. You're going to have to pass the extra round for an extra pip. And then you're going to have to wait for the overtime to take effect. I am going to put Reindeer Knight into, like, I guess only if there's nothing better. Really, I just don't like Reindeer Knight. I don't like Deer Knight either. I think I've never been a big fan of overtimes. And I think that it just makes the battle take longer. And I would much rather someone use Blizzard twice than use Reindeer Knight once, if you understand what I mean. So I'm going to put that into only if there's nothing better. Next, we have Sandstorm, which is definitely a deck staple. Let's be honest, all the 4-pip AoEs are going to be deck staples or higher, as I've said. It's a solid 4-pip AoE, so I'll put it there. Next, we have Scald. Now, Scald, I'm going to say, is situational. And the reason why I'm putting it in the situational and not, like, a lower tier is because there is that strategy, if you've never seen it, where you get a fire wizard to use Scald, and then you have someone with the Mass Detonate card from the Dellonsjave hat. You also have someone use Mass Feint. Basically, you can take out bosses in one round. It's a really, really good strategy. Just look up, like, Detonate one-round strategy. You'll see it. There was a really cool video on it at one point of them one-rounding Hades and Tartarus, which was just really cool. I personally have never used the strategy because I don't have a Dellonsjave hat on any of my accounts, but it's a really good strategy, and I will put it in the situational. If you have the hat, the strategy's really good. You can do like 20,000 damage first round. It's pretty insane. So I'll put it there. Next, we have Scarecrow, which has to go into best of the best. It does really solid damage for an AoE. It does almost 900 damage with Enchanted, and it has the heal back. So let's be honest, it's really, really good. Any spell with heal back is going to be really good, just so you can get that health. It, honestly, it's really good, and as a Death Wizard, it kept me alive through almost every fight. Next, we have Ship of Fools. Ship of Fools is also going to have to go into best of the best, because it is simply the best 4-pip AoE in the game. It is without a doubt the best 4-pip AoE in the game. If you disagree, you don't know the power of Ship of Fools. Ship of Fools, you can see, does 275 at base, and it heals back. Now, why is this so important? Well, when you enchant it with the plus 300 epic enchant, that's going to reach 575. You're going to be doing your damage on top of a crit. So this is going to be doing about 2,000 at least every round. 2,000 against 4 enemies heal back. That's going to heal you 4,000 health. That's half of my max health for a 4-pip AoE. Early game, this is broken. Like, I will say, if you have Ship of Fools early game, it is without a doubt broken. But I got it around, I believe around Azteca is when I got it, or maybe it was earlier than that. But either way, I got it, and it made going through the game a breeze. I was always at full health. There was never a time where I wasn't at full health. I think without a doubt, like, if you're a Death Wizard, it is the best death spell in the game. People who disagree, you're just dumb. It's as simple as that. You just can't see the power. Meteor Strike, I'm going to put this in the deck staple. It could go into best of the best because it is one of the strongest 4-pip AoEs, but it doesn't have the same potential as Raspman, and it's not nearly as good as Ship of Fools. So I'll put it into deck staples instead. Next, we have Sirens. And honestly, I'm going to put Sirens at the only if there's nothing better. I just have never been the biggest fan of Sirens. It's barely stronger than Stormlord for 1 more pip. Tempest will actually be better than it at 9 pips. If you do the math, it'll do 1,000 base damage, which is just better than that damage. Honestly, I'm going to have to just put it here into only if there's nothing better. It's really not good. The only reason you'd use this is for the accuracy debuff. All right, next here we have Snack Attack, which I will say isn't an awful spell, but it's not really good. I'm going to put it in a situational. Basically what it does is it pushes a weakness from you onto the enemy and then attacks all enemies or 530 to 640 damage, which realistically, the only reason why it's not better than that is, let's be honest, like, Cthulhu's better, Scarecrow's better. Like, they're both just better. Like, they do more damage, and there's really no reason why you'd use it. Next, we have Snow Angel, and I really don't like Snow Angel. I never have, and I never will. It'll do that little tiny bit of base damage plus the ring arounds. I hate overtimes. I've already said this video, but I just don't like overtimes. I think that they're pretty useless. They're not that good. Overall, just a bit meh. We have Snowball Barrage here, and I am going to put Snowball Barrage probably at best of the best. Now, I will say, obviously, you need to wait for that Shadow Pip, but without it, even with it, once you get that Shadow Pip, realistically, you're going to be doing a ton of damage as an Ice Wizard. It's Tempest, but for ice. So realistically, I am going to put that at best of the best. It is a good spell, so I'll give it that. All right, next we have Sound of Musicology, which I will say is definitely a decent spell, but it has the same problem as Snack Attack, where it's just not as it's not as good as their 5-pip AOE. Obviously, I think if you upgrade it, you can make it do more damage. But realistically, then it also costs more pips. I just don't think it's really that good. It's more situational. Really, I don't know whether you're going to be using it or not. Next, we have Stormlord, which Stormlord is probably going to have to go into best of the best. It is a really good and highly damaging 7-pip AoE, and it stuns the enemy, which obviously stunning isn't really that good, but it exists, so I'll put it there. Next, we have Sun Serpent, and I have to put this right next to Avenging Fossil. I don't think either of them are good. Obviously, the main attack is decent. It's not bad for a 10 pip, but then it hits everything else, and the hit everything else part does very minimal damage. I've never really liked it. Like, I would much rather use something like King Artorias, which does more base damage than use Sun Serpent to hit everything else. It's just not my favorite, so I'll put it into there. Next, we have Tempest. This has to be best of the best. As I said, it's a really good spell. It's going to be your best spell from 1 to 6 pips all the way up to Stormlord. You're going to want to use Stormlord if you have 7 pips as Storm Wizard, if you think about it, right? And then 9 pips onward, it's also the best AoE again, because it does more damage than things like Sirens, right? So Tempest overall is just probably the best AoE in the game. I would even put it better than probably Rat Spin and maybe Ship of Fools. Ship of Fools, they're two very uncomparable things. Like, Tempest does a lot of damage, but Ship of Fools gives you health. So, we'll put it there. Alright, next we have Tatzelworm Terror, which, again, is probably going to have to go into situational. I think all of these spells are rather situational, because they just aren't that good. It doesn't do as much damage as Mystic Colossus. You wouldn't use Mystic Colossus anyway, but it doesn't do as much damage as that. It doesn't do as much damage as Orthrus, and it's just really not that good. It has the Confuse effect, which is okay, I guess, but it's not that good. I'm just going to put it in there. Next, Humunga Frog is a deck staple. I'll leave it at that. And then finally, Wings of Fate. Wings of Fate is a good spell, I will give it that. It does the damage in the overtime, and then the heal in the overtime. I'll put it at pretty good. I'll put it at a deck staple. I don't think it's the best spell in the game, but I think as a Life Wizard, you're probably going to be wanting to carry it in your deck just so you can have that damage and heal capability. It also is a very big heal, so I'll give it that. But that's it for today. I ranked all the AoEs. Let me know what you hate about my list. I'm sure someone will. What you like about it. Do you like it? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Whatever. Make sure to like and subscribe. Go support me financially on Patreon and join my Discord server. We're nearing 300 members. We're about to reach it. But that's it for today. A longer video, but whatever. Thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Adios.